Yeah, it is. It's really beautiful, and it's quite early. So yeah, the place where we were at last night, they hadn't opened the water yet because the pipes are still a bit cold, a bit freezing. Um, we've kind of come over the border from Montana into Wyoming and now South Dakota, and we
Wow.
are yeah, yeah.
Well, I
So
guess the good thing about camping and traveling uh, when it's still cold is there's no mosquitoes.
that's been a really good thing. It's been a super helpful thing. Yeah, yeah, and tonight we were inside somewhere, but there's been, most nights I've been able to kind of sleep outside with my little setup, which isn't even a tent, and there hasn't been anything coming in. So that's been nice. And I guess it's what you're saying because of that colder weather that it's just been very amenable to being out. But yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Then you have the cold, um, and all of that coming in. Um,
Be careful, the ticks are out though.
oh,
Those little
okay.
darlings.
I'll have to I'll have to watch out for that then. Um, so this is a really interesting site that we're at now. It's called Bear Butte. It's in it's in South Dakota, and it's a sacred site to the Native Americans. So it's a very old place, and I guess a butte. It's something where it's not quite a mountain, but it is really. And I'm walking by the way, so we can get to a place where you can have a view of it because it's sort of like right behind the trees behind me, but the trees are blocking the view. But yeah, a butte. It's kind of a very sort of like a Teton where you have these cliffs or very steep sides, not quite a mountain, but it's not a hill. So it's bigger than a hill. It's smaller than a mountain, and it's pretty steep. And that's what I think people mean by these buttes. And it's a Vision Quest site, so it's used for these um, Vision Quests. I actually learned about it from my father, and he learned about it from the Native Americans, and he was out here about 50 years ago, and he did a Vision Quest, and the park has totally changed, in 50 years. So when he went here, it wasn't actually a park. It might have been, public or it might have been private land. It was kind of unclear, what it was. State park apparently hadn't been formed yet, and it was kind of like an informal agreement with the Native Americans who were kind of unofficially caretaking the place. You give them a gift, come into the wigwam, get hear some stories. That was kind of like the orientation. And then if you kind of worked out with them, you could have a 4-day vision quest that he went on where you hike up the top of the mountain or the butte, and you stay in like a fixed location. So you have your prayer bundles, and you arrange them in a circle, and you stay within the circle for 4 days and have your vision quest. So I was talking with there's still a Native American there now. He's like probably official government employee manning the visitor center. And it's a different story now. It's a lot harder to do something like that. Do something like a vision quest. The park closes at sundown. You pay your entrance fee, and then your license for the day to go in and kind of walk around. Um, but it's a bit of a different thing than it was back then. But still, like really, it's a really exciting place to be, and great energy on the mountain over there. I think we're gonna have to. I think we're gonna have to climb our own little hill in front of us to get the view that we want.
I'm amazed you have a signal there.
Oh yeah, I'm amazed too. Where I was last night, which was in the Black Hills, which is not far from here at all. Black Hills National Forest. There was no signal, whatsoever. Not even a bar, not even half a bar. The traces of bars weren't even showing up. Um, there was totally nothing there. But this Bear Butte, and sometimes like a lot of these, sacred places, kind of stand alone. And Mount Shasta is another example of that. Like you're driving up to Mount Shasta, and it's like the only thing that looks like that. It's like a kind of a mountain standing up from out of nowhere. Now we're starting to see the mountain coming to view. It just like stands out of nowhere, like totally out of place almost. And this is exactly like that. You have the Black Hills National Forest, but this isn't actually in the Black Hills National Forest. It's 20 miles away, so it's really close to it. But as far as the geology and other stuff around, it's like just kind of popping out of the plain, basically, and it's relatively flat. There's no other buttes or mountains right over here. It's completely flat farmland, and then you have this butte. There we go. So we're starting to walk out into the field. We're starting to see. I'm starting to see the view up around the camera in a second, and we will get a view of this. Let's see. Okay. So that, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a small mountain.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. Small mountain, very steep sides, and there's that little ridge. And I guess like the full ridge you can't see, but you can kind of see it's coming down onto that ridge. And then the sacred part is the top, and it's actually flat on top. It's like kind of saddle shaped, and that's where you do the vision quest, because you can kind of be in that flat area right at the top. So that is our mountain. I'll come back into a little bit of shade here, and we can start our session. And how have things been going on your end over there?
They're well. I've been feeling good.
Okay.
Yeah, my physical body has been feeling relatively good. Yeah,
Well,
not
that's
bad.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny that the temperature here fluctuates so much, because it can go down very low at night. And a couple of nights ago, which wasn't quite here, but wasn't terribly far, it was like below freezing. There was like snow coming down, like all kinds of crazy stuff. It's like we didn't even know like how far we'd be able to drive on the highway. We had to like turn around and stop. It was like a blizzard. We could barely see
Yikes.
anything whatsoever. Like that kind of snow coming down. It was starting to accumulate like just a little bit on the road, and it was like, okay, like we can't really make it past here. Like it was like, driving 15 minutes to the town we passed turned into half hour, 45 minutes. We're just like just going as slow as possible. And then now in the day it's got to be at least 70 degrees. I'm sweating now, so it's like at night I'm like, yeah, bundling up, like putting on all this stuff, and now I'm like, yeah, I'm like sweating. So yeah, it's like the temperature gets hot, very hot in the day, and it can get quite cold at night.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah. A TCM thing is that to always be taking off your layers when you're starting to sweat
ah,
in traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea. I'll take a couple
I mean,
layer
duh.
ones right now. We so we talk. Yeah, use these like zippable layers too. Okay, so found a little bit of.
That was a nice travel log. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. So we'll layer down a little bit.
Well, hikers know that. They know that, when you're hiking, you want to stay relatively cool, but then when you stop, put the layers back on.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, usually I have this shell like it's a raincoat too, and I just when I take stuff off, I just put everything inside of that. It becomes like a little bubble of sweatshirts and whatnot. All right, so let's get started. Um, we'll go directly into the meditation. I have to end slightly earlier anyway, so we'll go into
Perfect.
that.
Perfect. Yeah.
Cool. So we'll chant Om 3 times as we go into it. Om.
Oh,
Om. Om.
oh,
Om. Om.
oh.
Okay, so be with your breath. Feel the breath coming into your chest and just stay with that. Ask Meher Baba to come down and join us in this meditation. We can bring our attention back to the breath if we need to. And we'll gently bring our meditation to a close. Can begin to stretch out, wiggle a little bit, give a little bit of twist back and forth. raise my hands up and gently stretch side to side. So I'm slowly coming back. Stretch up, lengthening the spine. Nice little, nice little stretch in. We will gently bring our meditation session to a close. So thank you, Jen, and thank you everyone that may watch and join us from where they are and also experience a little bit of what it's like out here. It's my first time in South Dakota. It's definitely something I've always been intrigued by. It's a state with a very interesting name. I'm drawn to things that are Native American. When I was growing up, there was a Native American site behind my house, kind of one of these shell mittens on the Hudson River. We have a lot of oyster shells, and I did plenty of playing around there and plenty of digging around trying to find, arrowheads and actually finding, an arrowhead and another, another small amulet that they had. So it's been I've been interested in, Native American culture and in history. Um, and
What town is, sorry, what town is there? Is that near that you're talking about? Hudson River.
I grew up in Dobbs Ferry, New York, and
Oh, cool.
there's an
Oh,
area called Wickers Creek, um, which uh, which is a Native American historical site. The funny thing is, it's still not recognized. So people have been able to try to build around it and like build on top of it and like do all these condominium developments.
oh yeah.
Um,
That's
I don't. Yeah, it boggles my mind why it's not on the National Register or if like a house from the 1800s can get on the be like officially recognized and like it has to be preserved, then I don't know why a site where you have really deep shell middens, um, like hundreds if not longer time that it would have taken to build up that kind of a deposit. It's like every time they ate a shell, they put it over there. So like one shell at a time, then you get these really high mounds that are quite quite extensive. So they're definitely there for a very long time, and the physical there's more than physical traces that are still there, but nobody really goes back there, and I don't even think it's on a map.
mm,
Yet it's a very extensive site. There's actually two that I know about. So it's like a creek that runs in between, and it might be like half a mile from one side of the creek to another. There's actually two that I know about, and there's not even a trail going to it. It's really like nobody would even know about. So it's like the condominium I was living in, and then there's an old factory that's been converted, and between that condominium and a factory, if you look on the map, it's just like it's just like there's a bunch of trees over there. It's like not even that big of a strip, but if you walk back there, there's this gigantic shell midden. It's like that
mm,
whole kind of ridge or bump is this shell midden, and it's not even marked on the map. Nobody would even know. You just go behind the condominium's basketball court essentially, and all of that is back there, and there's a lot to you know a lot to explore. People haven't really gone through it, or probably even really know what's there. Um,
wow. Now,
yeah,
now did your family know the Juretskis of Dobbs Ferry?
no,
Okay,
I
yeah.
haven't known.
Yeah,
Tell me.
they were a family I knew I don't know about 50 years ago or something. Yeah.
Wow.
Um the
Okay.
yeah. Um cool. Yeah, I've heard of those shell middens but I didn't realize they were on the Hudson too. Like I
Oh
think
yeah.
they they're like really high apparently on Long Island somewheres uh
Okay.
where they're um hundreds of feet high even. I heard,
Wow,
I read somewhere. Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, it's like you don't really know how high they are because it hasn't been explored. So you're seeing it on the surface. You're seeing where some of it is exposed, but you don't really know. Um,
Yeah.
the other place I've seen it is Croton Point Park,
Oh, wow.
um, which kind of it like juts into the Hudson. Just a bit further north, and it's like a point where it kind of juts in, and yeah, walking back there. If you walk from the park where the barbecues and whatnot is happening, if you kind of go from there toward the river, then yeah, then along the banks, yeah, you have this enormous midden, and yeah, again, it's hard to yeah, it could be that the entire bank is the midden. Yeah, we don't know unless yeah, I guess somebody like took a coring sample or explored it, then yeah, um then you wouldn't know. But yeah, it's super super fascinating. Around here, there are some living Native Americans. I was talking to one of them who's at the visitor center, and there is a reservation near here. Um, whereas I think the ones that were at Wicker's Creek are less preserved. I don't know if you'd be able to find descendants of them um, or whatnot. But some of the yeah, Lakota tribe, it's like a sub tribe of the Lakota. I think it's Aglala, um, are not so far. They're probably a few miles from here. So that's
I
some
guess
more.
our tribes are called the Lenapes, right? Lenape, or
That rings a bell.
yeah.
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that could be more to explore. But what I have learned recently, which is new to me and actually makes me want to explore more, is that the Native American sites, like the sites that were sacred to them, and the ones that we would be able to like do a research and find, such as this one, are they're high energy places, and I think they're high energy places from the ceremonies that they did there over so long, um, and also potentially from just being a natural high energy place. And it's something I'm learning more about. But the concept of ley lines, of kind of naturally intersecting energy lines in the earth that are there, anyway, based on geology, based on volcanic activity, based on underground water activity. So they're kind of natural energy spots, and sometimes they intersect and make even more energy. And a lot of the places that were sacred to Native Americans, they're kind of naturally on these locations. So sometimes, a Native American sacred site like that can be an indicator that that's a high energy spot, and then that's something that we can leverage in a meditation, in an energy healing, and a remote energy healing. It can be a helpful spot. It can be an interesting spot, and there can be different energies there. So that's what I've been kind of experiencing and feeling out as I've sort of walked up to these sites, walked into it, and seeing how the energy changes kind of as you're on the outside versus as you're, in this case, if you're like walking up the butte and seeing what that's like. So it's yeah, so these sites, although they're maybe forgotten about it, I wouldn't have even thought before. You can like Google and where are the Native American sacred sites, and there's some sacred sites, and even back east, New York, Pennsylvania, places that you wouldn't even think it's that much of a spiritual hotbed or something like that. You can use where the Native Americans were and where they thought was sacred to discover where those sites are, and the energy is still active. So even if the Native Americans, as much as I'd like them to be there and be conducting their rituals and ceremonies, if for they're not there, the tribe isn't there anymore. Um, the energy is still there, and that can be interesting for us today to explore.
I'm going to do that as soon as we hang up. Google, Google energy sites around here. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll be sharing with you as well in the next next week or two as we go from one spot to the next. I'll let you know what we find over here. Okay. Okay, so we'll bring us to a close, and I want to thank you, Jen, and anyone who may watch this later. Okay, Jay Baba.
Jay Baba.